So today we're going to make honey and ginger glazed carrots. The cool thing about this is that we've been growing these carrots here in our garden for a little while now, and they are ready to pick. So we're going to go through that process, kind of picking them, and then we're going to go inside, we're going to wash them up, and we're going to get them prepped for dinner. So one of the things about carrots, you can see all this top, this is all kind of the fronds on here. If you look down here, you'll see they're just kind of popping out of the ground. We kind of look for them to be about 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half or so in diameter at the top, and they're ready to pick. These are supposed to be some different colored carrots, so they're not going to necessarily be orange. They might be yellow, might be white. I kind of don't know what we're going to get here, so we're going to go ahead and just start pulling these. Just dig in there. You can see like we got some carrots coming up here. Here's a good sized carrot there. Look at that guy. Oh, we got a nice red. Look at that one. That's beautiful. There's another white one. Oh, there's some orange and some yellow. Down here. Oh, what do we got there? Oh, there's another white one in there. There's another. Oh, look at that. We're going to have some nice color in there tonight. Oh, this one probably could have gone a little bit longer. Get that out of there. And, oh, there's another nice one there. And right here. I think that's just about, I got another little red one there. That'll be great for color. So that is all our carrots for this year. Look at those. That's going to make some really, really nice dinner there. And you can see kind of the rest of the garden. We have a whole bunch of collard greens back there. We've got herbs. We've got peppers and tomatoes growing. So we're going to have a good amount of stuff this year. So we're going to go inside now. We're going to get everything washed up, and I'm going to show you how to prep. So here we got our carrots that we just pulled from the garden. Okay, I've trimmed the tops and the bottoms off with them, and I kind of give them a little rinse, and then I put them in this soak. The soak will help kind of rinse off any of that extra dirt. You know, anytime you got a root vegetable, something growing in the ground, you're going to always have some dirt and some sand on there. And so it's going to take a little bit of kind of loosening in order to be able to get all that stuff off, and a little bit of friction. People always ask me, how do you clean your produce? And there's a lot of washes and things like that out there, but most research suggests that like viruses don't necessarily live a long time on foods, and if you just wash them with cold water and you give them a little bit of friction, you basically eliminate the risks there. You should always, of course, wash all your produce. So what I've got these carrots here now, I have not peeled them yet. I've just taken the tops off of them. Okay, just all you do is, so I left one here, and all I'm going to do is just snip that top off just like that, and discard that, and then that bottom little root part, and get rid of that. Oop, lost one in there, got it out, just like that. Make sure it soaks good, and then we're going to give it a little bit of friction. So I've just got this little bit of washcloth here. You can use a little brush or a little scrubby or something like that. All you want to do is give it just a little bit of, see how you're getting some of that orange off of there? You're just getting some of that extra stuff off. And then after you do that, make sure you're rinsing it under just a little bit of cool water, just because you don't want to necessarily put it back in the water where you're soaking with all the sand and all the kind of the dirt and stuff from the garden there. So simple and easy as this. I'm going to go ahead and wash all these, get them all scrubbed up a little bit, and then we'll go through peeling and cutting and getting them prepped for dinner. All right, so we've got all the carrots clean. We got them all peeled and ready to go. We're going to peel this one right here just so you can see that. One thing that we kind of always do in culinary school is you kind of put a paper towel or something on your cutting board so you don't end up with all those peels all over the place. And some people ask, well, do you really have to wash them if you're going to peel them anyway? And the answer is yes, because really you could have all kinds of stuff on the outside of this, and then once you start to move that blade through it, you're just sort of pushing all that onto the surface underneath anyway. And so washing it is really important, not only to make sure that you get any kind of viruses and bacteria off there, but certainly all the dirt and the sand and the grit also. So we're just going to peel. We're going to try and peel kind of right onto our little paper towel here, because then it makes cleanup easier and you don't end up with all those peels all over the board afterwards. I always keep a little bag next to me or a little bowl for scraps. And once you get all that off, let it down there, get that little peel out of there, and then you can just wrap that up like a little package, and then everything's gone, no mess. So cutting, I'm going to show you really quick. Here's my chef's knife. You guys are probably used to seeing that before. So what we want to do with the chef's knife, you always want to kind of hold it around the bolster. So this is really kind of a good grip. You see how my fingers are wrapped around right here? I'm actually, my thumb and my pointer finger are actually on the blade itself. You have better control over with that. And then I've wrapped my 3 fingers underneath. And when you go to cut, you kind of want to keep your knife on the board the whole time. we use our guide hand, we make what's called kind of a C. Okay, so what we're going to do just a little like farmer's cut. So we've got to take kind of like, it's got like an oblique basically. You're going to take a 45-degree angle, and then you're going to roll it towards you, and you're going to make another 45-degree angle. You're going to roll it back away, and roll it towards you, and back away, and you see we get these little triangles, see, just like that. So those are going to be really nice. You can actually just slice these also and glaze them that way. You can really do any kind of cut you want. It is going to get a little challenging with some of these because you can see there's a lot of variance in size because they all just kind of came out of the garden. They're not consistent necessarily like you might find at the grocery store. So at some point or another, we're going to have to, maybe cut some a little smaller than we would, or a little, on those small ones, we're going to have to cut maybe just into 2 or 3 pieces and try to keep that same sort of shape. Because we don't want them to cook, they could cook a little unevenly, but we don't want them to cook super uneven. So one more, like that. So you see those right there. And then if you we'll take one of these white ones here really quick, make that 45-degree cut, roll it. You see, I'm trying to just move my knife through it like that, and not necessarily chop down. We don't really want to ever hear that. Roll it back, roll it away, and roll it back. We're going to continue that with all these. You don't need to see it like over and over and over again. Then we're going to go ahead and go over to the stove. We're going to get them in a pan, and we're going to start our glazing process. Okay, so we're all prepped to make our glazed carrots here. I'm just going to tell you what we have here. We've got some butter here. This is ginger ale. We've got some fresh ginger, a little bit of parsley, and this is a habanero honey. So you guys know that I have my own bees, and they produce honey, and so this is a honey that I made last year with some habaneros that we had. We just basically infused just a little bit, so it had just a hint of spice, but not too much. So that's all we're really going to need besides those carrots. So move that off to the side. The pan's already preheated. We're going to go ahead and add the butter. You'll see it'll kind of start to melt immediately. Now you're really not trying to get a lot of browning here, not a lot of color necessarily on these carrots. Most of the cooking is actually going to be done at a simmer with all that liquid. As that butter starts to melt, be careful, don't let it brown too much. You don't want to get kind of that burnt flavor to it. You see it start getting a little bit of color to it. We want to go ahead and add our carrots at that point. And here's all our carrots, all cleaned and cut. And so all I'm really trying to do here is just kind of coat them with that hot fat, and we're going to go ahead and start adding our liquid to this. And then there's going to be some inactive prep time where it's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes, kind of depending on your heat level, for all that liquid to sort of reduce down. You kind of want to get it to a syrupy glaze. We're going to take our ginger, just a little bit of ground ginger, right about a teaspoon or so. For this, you can do that to taste, of course. Just a little bit of this habanero honey. We don't want to add too much heat, but we want to add a little bit of that kind of natural sweetness and just a little bit of spice to it. And then, of course, our ginger ale. This is about 8 ounces of ginger ale. You want them just about submerged. We're going to get that all stirred in good. Make sure that everything is dispersed. And then we're just going to have some inactive time here for about the next 20 to 30 minutes where this basically cooks down. What you're trying to get to the point is where the carrots are fork tender and all this liquid is gone, save for it like a really kind of thin glaze. It'll actually start to brown just a little bit, and we're going to kind of wait for that to happen. And that's how we're going to know it's done, and then we'll finish it with a little bit of seasoning. I'm going to throw just a couple little sprigs of parsley in there to give it a little bit of an herbal note. And we're going to hit it with just a little bit of cracked pepper, just a couple little cracks, and a very small pinch of salt. We will finish seasoning kind of later on. We just want to put just a little bit in there as this works. So you're going to bring this up to a simmer, and then you're going to allow it to cook down until it's a nice syrupy glaze. Okay, so you can see here our carrots, basically all that liquid is gone. Kind of, I can tilt that, you can see what's left in there is really just butter and then a nice glaze for these carrots. Okay, if I can get them close, hopefully you can see there's a little bit of brown happening in here. We got some nice little caramelization going on the outsides of these. That's what you want to see. That's kind of how you know that they're ready to go. So we're going to finish this with a little fresh parsley, a couple pats of butter, just a pinch of salt. This is a sweet dish, so you don't really want to have a whole lot of salt, but something to balance. And then just a couple little cracks of pepper. We're going to toss this together. make sure we get coated with the butter and the parsley. See how that nice green kind of contrasts with all that color that we have in there. Okay, we've got our plate right here. I'm just going to plate a little bit. Obviously, you'd probably want to put this in a little serving dish, put it on the table. If you're just serving a little side like this, you might just put these on there. Try to get some of those colors in there as well. And then maybe right at the end, maybe just a little bit of that butter. So there we have almost farm to table, maybe a garden to table.